Why, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Showcase Central episode 14. I'm your host, Nate Branco here, and we got quite a bit of stories to unpack today, including one that is spreading throughout the league. You know, we have stories such as the Mets firing Mendoza. We have the MLB and its CBA as well as the MLBPA in further talks, definitely not going anywhere. And then we have my opinions on what I think about the AL and NL All-Star teams since they cracked down on the rosters and are now going on to phase 2, which the voting actually starts this week. And then you have your typical DraftKings lock of the day Nate edition. So pack up on a Friday, guys, because this is gonna be a good one. Story that we are gonna start off with is the MLB CBA and its MLBPA. So the MLB wants a maximum 5-year deals for free agents changing teams, while organizations will have the ability to keep their own players for up to 6 years, calling it a cornerstone player provision. The potential change to free agency comes as the league addressed reverse clause issues in a Thursday meeting with the MLBPA and would take effect after the 2027 season. The league's proposal includes raising the minimum salary from $780,000 to $1 million in 2027 for players with at least 2 years of service time. Any player with 0 or 1+ years of service time will receive $1 million if they receive a full year of service, which includes $900,000 minimum salary plus an automatic $100,000 bonus from the pre-arbitration bonus pool. The increase in the minimum is the largest year-over-year increase in MLB history according to league data. Minimum would increase in future years along with the payroll floor and ceiling. Additionally, players who reach 5 years of service time by age 30 would become eligible for free agency, a provision the union first put forth recently as part of its own CBA proposal. Currently, players of any age need 6 years of service time before becoming a free agent. That system has been in place since the advent of free agency in MLB in 1976. The league also proposed eliminating deferred contracts as well as the qualifying offer, but didn't ask for any changes to its arbitration system. The proposals all come under the umbrella of a salary cap system that the league previously put forth to the MLBPA. In the new system, free agents who are switching teams can only sign only for up to 5 years and a maximum of 50% of the team's payroll, with 5% increase every year of the contract. Using the cornerstone player provision, a team can sign its own player for up to 6 years. A free agent moving teams this upcoming offseason could sign a maximum contract of 5 years, $202 million. A team retaining its own free agent could sign him for 6 years at $265 million. Maximum contract length applies to free agent years only. For example, a player with less than a year of service can sign with its team for up to 12 years, the 6 before free agency and the 6 after. If the contract began in 2027, he could sign for 12 years, $500 million. The new contract lengths are in line with those in the other professional sports leagues that operate under a salary cap. The league has initially proposed a salary floor of $171.2 million and a ceiling of $245.3 million per team beginning in 2027. It seems like they're trying to cut down on these things, and they want a type of contract where it's reasonable and you earn that type of money, and they want to actually give a certain contract to ones that actually deserve the deal and such. So it seems they're still rolling with the whole payroll thing and what they want to do and what they want to accomplish for this whole new CBA rule. In my opinion, I do feel like a player is definitely worth what he's worth. Like, for example, like Bryce Harper, when he got his 330 million, he's a star and he deserves that 330 mil. And I know they don't like the MLB, you could just tell, is sick of those contracts because you definitely don't know if that person will eventually pan out. Like, I mean, look at Otani's; he's already panning out as it is. In my opinion, like with Bryce Harper, it's kind of 50-50 because I mean, he hasn't won a World Series. I know he has an MVP attached to his name, but I do think that those contracts do need to be eliminated a little bit, and it's something that I hope gets fixed because I do kind of want to see what it's like if they were to transition to, because it seems like they're trying to go follow that NBA bird rights thing, but we'll see how this actually turns out. Let's see if MLB players will actually go forth in on this. So it does seem they're trying to eliminate the deferred compensation and to create a new cornerstone player provision similar to the NBA's bird rights to give every team a fair shot at retaining their fan favorite star players. We we will continue working with MLBPA during the bargaining process to improve the game for teams, players, and fans. The MLBPA has pushed back on operating with a hard salary cap and floor, putting forth its own proposal that continues the current system of taxing teams that go over a payroll threshold. Additionally, it has never been in favor of a maximum number of years on the length of a contract. Its own proposal expands player compensation while allowing players to sign without a max on years or compensation. Huh. Let me tell you this. It is nice to see some loyalty in the MLB, and it is definitely something that they are trying to improve on. It seems as if this whole salary cap is going to be an issue, and it's just going to be something I feel like is still going to drive them apart. And like I said, these players, I know they get paid a crazy amount of money for no reason, and but if you're worth that, you're worth that dollar. But in terms of the minimum salary for players with service time, I do find this to be a little bit of a upgrade on their part because they're actually helping them out in some sort. They're not lowballing them. They're actually trying to up this up the ante with that, and they're actually giving them 1 mil, and it seems as if they're trying to help the system. They're trying to regard the system of that. They're trying to actually help the players, help the youngsters, of course, because nowadays actually you see these young players actually get offered these big deals, like well, more so hometown deals, honestly. Like you saw, like I'll give you a list of examples of young kids that actually got a hometown discount, and they actually haven't even had a whole lot of service time in the MLB. For example, Ezekiel Tovar from the Colorado Rockies, Roman Anthony from the Boston Red Sox. That's just two examples right there. They're young, cheap players that will be with the system for a while. Oh, and you can throw in Ceddanne Rafaela too, of course. But that's just to name a few. I do feel like they are trying to have the fan favorites stay on the team and not just divert elsewhere. They want to keep the fans happy with who they got, who they like, and it's just one of those situations that definitely needs to be monitored. We definitely will see something that could potentially change what the MLBPA could think of this whole thing, or otherwise we may not see baseball in 2027, which is shitty because I practically made my platform off this thing, which is something that I love. I just hope the MLB and the MLBPA can figure something out in terms of an agreement for the next 5 years or so on a new CBA, because I would love to watch baseball for more years and years to come. I hope the players get paid correctly. I hope that they can find a salary cap that everyone can agree on. I just want the players to be happy. But when it comes to those contracts, I hope maybe this cornerstone player provision is something that could potentially change the player's mind. Okay, so let's talk about the Mets firing Carlos Mendoza. This is a story that broke out earlier today while I was at work on break. I saw this and I said, oh, this is definitely going on episode 14 today. This is perfect. So let's just say this has been a long time coming. Mets fans are definitely happy about this because let's be real. This is something that they were cursed. They've been cursed all year. Let me break it down for you guys real quick. Let's just say all the 2025-26 acquisitions combined for $147 million. I'm talking about players such as Bichette, Simeon, Robert, Manaya, and that's just to name a few. Let's just say those players are absolute ass this year. And it's shitty to see because those are all great talents right there. Those are all good talents. But it seems as if Mendoza can't get anything out of these players. But at the same time, these players are just to blame. Carlos Mendoza is just a scapegoat, which sucks. Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's the GM and the owner who practically make those decisions. Because, it goes owner, and then pretty much GM, and then when you're the manager, you're pretty much on the lower bottom of the totem pole. It sucks to see. But honestly, this is something that this falls on This falls on the GM. David Stearns, I feel like this dude's on the hot seat. I really think so. But at the same time, Steve Cohen is just to blame as well. Steve Cohen has the team record of 459 and 432 since 2021. Ever since Steve Cohen took over the team, he has splurged money like crazy. I will tell you that right now. He has spent money on guys in free agency like Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander. Those were guys that are practically out of their prime, and he paid major money for them. I remember seeing that trade, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, this is absolutely crazy. That's not going to work in your favor. At the time, I was like, oh, you know what? Okay, maybe he can squeeze a little juice out of them. No, those guys didn't even last a full season. Scherzer went on to Texas to win a World Series, and Verlander ended up going back to Houston. And funny enough, them two ended up facing each other in the playoffs that year in the ALCS in 2023. So, yeah. And then, we have the Juan Soto deal, which is still going on. Give that one some time. And then, we have these, the Bichette deal, the Luis Robert trade, the snagging Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, Clay Holmes. And then, they got rid of David Peterson, who was an all-star last year for the Mets. It's just looking like a straight-up letdown. Let's not forget this one. Pete Alonso, they let the man walk. Oh, my God. This one is crazy. I can't believe they didn't even make an effort to keep that man. Mets fans love that guy. Literally, the other day, I was watching a Mets clip, and the fans were you could tell the fans were bored out of their mind because they were literally chanting, P. Alonso, very, very loud in Citi Field. I was like, oh my God. That's a dig at ownership right there. They are telling you they miss that man because they don't have his power in the lineup as they did years and years and years ago. The Mets just look like a shell of their former selves. And it sucks. Pete Alonso is actually doing all right in Baltimore with that shiny new deal he has. But, hey. And I will actually give you guys a few list of names of who I think could take over for next year. But as of right now, they have Andy Green, who is being the interim coach for the rest of the season. I feel like the Mets will actually go for a player. No, they actually will go for a player coach this next season, if they have a season. But here's my list of names, okay? I'm going to go with Alex Cora, Albert Pujols. They could try Carlos Beltran again. Or they can go either Rocco Baldelli. I think it'll be Alex Cora. I think Alex Cora will blend in very well, especially with Francisco Lindor. That is somebody I can see advocating for his name to be thrown in the hat. And Carlos Mendoza is actually the third guy to be fired this season behind Alex Cora, ironically, and Rob Thompson. The Mets are in a lost season. They are absolutely toast. It's time to look to next year. And honestly, you know what? Another name that they traded for. Freddie Peralta, another guy. Sorry, that just came into mind. But Freddie Peralta, another letdown. And he was solid throughout his own entire MLB career. But he comes to the Mets and he just shits the bed. But yes, Cohen has failed this team. Honestly, if you had to grade me on a tenure for him so far, I would probably have graded a D. I probably would. Because this team, it's not it. The 2026 Mets are not it. Look forward to next year. Clean up the roster. Get rid of some contracts. And that's really it. That's all really I gotta say about that whole Carlos Mendoza thing. But hey, we'll see what happens in the future with who they grab. Or maybe they keep this interim. I don't know. But I doubt it. Okay, so we're going to talk about the AL and NL All-Star finalists that came out yesterday. So the most vote getters ended up being Shohei Ohtani, the DH for the National League, and Ernie Clement of the Toronto Blue Jays as their second baseman. So the AL first base finalists ended up being Vlad Jr. and Ben Rice. Honestly, Nick Kurtz should have been there. I don't know why Vlad's there, but I would choose. Kurtz has had a so much better season. I know Kurtz and Vlad have about the same average, but Kurtz has been solid. He's been consistent, much more than Vlad Jr. Literally, Kurtz has 18 home runs, and you got Vlad with 4. Vlad pretty much fell off a cliff this year, but yet, that's who the fans voted. AL shortstop. There is Bobby Witt Jr. and Andres Jimenez. I honestly would put Kevin McGonkle of the Detroit Tigers, the rookie, over Andres Jimenez. Kazuma Okamoto and Junior Caminero of the third baseman for the AL. I honestly put Josh Young over Okamoto. Josh Young, he's actually been pretty solid this year. He's actually had a really good average. He's probably had, I believe this is probably, I'd say, his breakout year. He's actually been really solid for Texas. And Texas has been kind of floating on 500 or below. They've been in a weird state this year, but they're still trying to remain competitive in the AL West. And then the catchers, you have Shea Langeliers and Alejandro Kirk. I would probably put Dylan Dingler over Alejandro Kirk. Alejandro Kirk has been injured, and he also has not performed well with the bat at all either. ALDH, Yordan Alvarez and George Springer. I would put Yandy Diaz over Springer. I actually trust Yandy Diaz with the bat more than I do Springer. But, hey, the AL outfield actually consists of Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Byron Buxton, Cody Bellinger, Dalton Varsho, and Jesus Sanchez. Honestly, Judge will probably still be on the IL because he's going through a crazy injury right now. But if I had to replace him, I would probably put Riley Green in his place. Riley Green's actually been solid this year. I would keep Mike Trout in there because he probably will still be around. He actually has okay stats this year, so I would keep him in there. Byron Buxton and Cody Bellinger, I think they stay. They've been really good this year. Cody Bellinger's, I feel like, is finding himself again from his Dodger days. So that is nice to see. I would keep them there. Dalton Varsho, I would replace him with Ceddanne Rafaela. I'll tell you this, Varsho, he does have a nice bat, and he's got really great defense, but so does Ceddanne Rafaela. They're kind of the same player, in a way, but honestly, Rafaela, I think he's got him beat in average, but I definitely would replace him with that. Jesus Sanchez, I'm shocked this dude made the list, but honestly, I'm not crazy about that guy. But if there's one player I had to replace him with, it is definitely Randy Arozarena. Randy Arozarena has been one of the bright spots of the Mariners lineup this year. I do think he deserves a nod in the All-Star game. And I will not be shocked if Julio Rodriguez joins him as well. Let's go to the National League, folks. We're going to start off with first baseman. So, first baseman, Freddie Freeman, and Matt Olson. Both guys, they do definitely deserve it. They really do. But I do feel like that they slept on the St. Louis Cardinals first baseman, Alec Burleson. Alec Burleson's been having a great year so far, and I feel like he was snubbed on possibly being a starter. But hey, the Dodger fans definitely were like, "Hey, Freddie Freeman," every single freaking day, every single minute of the day. But in reality, both guys deserve it, so I don't really have an issue with this one. NL second baseman, Ozzy Albies and by Bryson Stott. I would put Luis Arias in here. Luis Arias has been one of the only bright spots of the shitty Giants that is occurred over there in San Francisco. Luis Arias has been really good these past few years. You know, he's won batting titles. He's just had a great average. He's just consistent. That's what I like about the guy, and he barely strikes out. So, National League, yes, I would put him over Stott. National League shortstops, you got Mookie Betts and C.J. Abrams. I feel like Otto Lopez was slept on heavily on this one. Otto Lopez is first in the first in MLB in average, and I believe a top 10 in hits too, if I'm not mistaken. Top 10 in hits, and somehow he did not make this list whatsoever. I guess nobody likes Marlins players, but honestly, I know the MLB in the All-Star game format, they are trying to put teams of at least one player included in the All-Star game. I definitely would put Otto Lopez over Mookie Betts, and definitely the MLB themselves is definitely going to put Otto Lopez as a substitute. Let's talk about the NL third baseman. Let's just say they had Alec Boehm and Max Muncy. Nick Gonzalez of the Pirates, I feel like, was snubbed here. He's been good this year. I know he doesn't have the power that most other MLB third basemen possess, but he's been solid. He's got a good average, but honestly, it's in Philadelphia, so I could definitely see why they want to put all their Philly guys in there, you know. But hey, I do think that Nick Gonzalez of the Pirates deserve the nod here. So let's talk about the National League catchers, Drake Baldwin and Will Smith. Honestly, Drake Baldwin definitely deserves it. He's pretty solid, that guy. Will Smith, I don't know if he will still be on the IL, but if he is still on the IL, I would replace him with Hunter Goodman. Hunter Goodman, you know, I know his average may not be up there, but his stats speak for it all. He's definitely Colorado's best player. Colorado's definitely going to send him to the All-Star game, whether he's an alternate, sub, whatever you want to call it. But I do think that he deserved something here. If not, I do think that he probably will be in the Home Run Derby, especially for a lost season of the Colorado Rockies. I mean, why not? The NL outfield, it is consisted of Andy Pages, Brandon Marsh, Ronald Acuna, Teoscar Hernandez, Juan Soto, and Michael Harris II of the Atlanta Braves. I didn't have much to say for this one, honestly. I thought this one was actually okay, to be honest. I think Andy Pages stays, Brandon Marsh stays, Michael Harris stays, and Juan Soto stays. But Ronald Acuna, I mean, name value. He's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. I like him. But honestly, there's one outfielder that probably deserves this a little more than him. You Braves fans are probably going to hate me for this one. But I do think that Jordan Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals deserves it just a bit more. He has been phenomenal this year. Homers left and right. He's been having some solid defense out there, man. I do think that he was snubbed on this one. He definitely deserves to be on the team. I hope he gets the recognition. But if I know Acuna is injured right now, but if Acuna actually makes the team, but doesn't actually participate because he's still injured, I do think that Jordan Walker will take his place. And last but not least, I would replace Teoscar Hernandez with Casey Schmidt of the Giants. Casey Schmidt, for a guy who's a utility player all around for the Giants, again, one of the biggest bright spots. He's been all around. He's been trying to keep this Giants team somewhat not dead. Actually, probably the most alive player on the team right now. But I do think he deserves a little recognition. I do think at least 2 Giants will make the All-Star team. I do think it'll be Arias, and I do think it will be Casey Schmidt. But honestly, that is all. But everything else on the outfield, I do think is perfect. But that is just my predictions on who I think was snubbed and who I think deserved it. That was a little bit of my thoughts. Let me know if you guys disagree, agree. I don't really care, but just let me know in the comments. I'm very curious to hear your opinion. Now here we are with our DraftKings Lock of the Day, Nate edition. Okay, so I got a good one for you guys today. So we're going to roll with Paul Skeens with 7 strikeouts. We're going to roll with Max Meyer, starting pitcher of the Miami Marlins with 7 Ks. 2 solid pitchers right there. Put in your lineups. Matt Olson with 1 hit and Braves money line on a win against the San Francisco Giants later on today. And honestly, that's it. Follow that parlay. Hopefully you guys win some money courtesy of me. And I will say this. Ladies and gentlemen, I am out of here. Happy Friday. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I will see you guys on Monday for more news, rumors, and just to talk with you guys. All right. You guys have a great day. God bless. Have a great one.